And welcome to True Talk. This is your host, Samar Jarrah. My co-host, Ahmed, is still on vacation, enjoying his summer, but he's going to be coming home very soon. I want you to stay tuned for this very interesting show because I'm going to be talking to Dr. Hatem Bazian, who is Executive Director of the Islamophobia Studies Center. He's also a lecturer at Berkeley University. And we're going to be talking about all this amazing reaction to the fact that Abdul Sayed won in Michigan. The level of questioning, the level of smear campaigns, Islamophobia. It is really mind-boggling that the president yesterday made a comment and used four-letter words, so I can't play what he said. So stay tuned, but listen to this music by Rim Al-Banna, who is a Christian Palestinian artist from Nazareth, who sadly passed away at a very young age from breast cancer. This is True Talk on WMNF 88.5 FM. I'm not sure why the music is not playing. Okay, maybe I should sing instead of Rim Al-Banna. But my voice is not that beautiful. Okay. Rim Al-Banna is not playing for some reason. Okay. Well, there is two things I would like you to listen to, which is an interview that Abdul Sayed was conducted to a few days ago, just before the election. So please listen to this until I come back.
Do you believe Israel has a right to exist?
So, Casey, AIPAC's become a big issue in this election because AIPAC's already spent $30 million in this election. They're by far the biggest spender in the race. Now, the question about a right to exist, it's interesting because nobody's ever asked me whether or not I believe Palestine has a right to exist. Every single president who's served has said that they believe in a two-state solution. Israel exists. The question is whether or not we want a politics where our money is sent over to Israel to do genocide and apartheid instead of investing in our own kids.
You say it exists, but does it have a right to?
No, I didn't say that. I just said the question of Israel's existence is not a question. I'm not going to play this gotcha game about whether or not it has a right to exist. The question ultimately is about whether or not we want a politics that dignifies.
You're not going to play the gotcha game, but you're not going to say you think Israel has a right to exist.
Well, my question, Casey, I think the question we all ought to ask is, does everybody have equal rights to peace, dignity, and self-determination? That's Jewish, Israelis, and Palestinians. And to me, the folks who should answer what the ultimate peace there looks like should be Jewish, Israelis, and Palestinians. I want my tax dollars spent here in Michigan to provide schools in Michigan, to build healthcare in Michigan, to invest in Michigan, rather than to be sent abroad to kill Palestinian people, do genocides and apartheid. The question about whether or not Israel has a right to exist is actually quite secondary to whether or not they have a right to our tax dollars. And people don't ask that question in good faith. So if you want to ask me about Palestinian right to exist, if you want to ask me about what I want to do for kids in Michigan, I'm happy to answer that question. But the AIPAC and Israel have become secondary questions that too many people have to talk about because our tax dollars keep getting spent over there rather than being spent over here.
So this was Abdul, or how is it pronounced in English, but we call him Abd al-Rahman, the servant of the merciful, on CNN. When I come back, I found out how to play Rim Al-Banna. We're going to be listening to more investigative kind of discussion with Abdul that doesn't happen with other candidates. So this is Rim Al-Banna.
سيدي صادر إذن حتى بساط المسجد وباع الكنيسة فهي من أملاكه وباع المؤذن في المزاد الأسود واطفئ ذبالات مشردي حتى يتامانا أبوهم غائب صادر يتامانا إذن يا سيدي لا تعتذر من قال أنك ظالم لا تنفعل من قال أنك معتدي حررت حتى السائمات غداة أن أعطيت أبراهام حقل محمد أنت الذي قتل الربيع فبيدري غضب يهز وثورة لم تخمدي أنت الذي لغمت يداك حظائقي ونسفت موسم لوزها المتورد وجبلت نوابا لنعبدهم وهم مستعبد يبكي على مستعبدي.
And you were listening to a song by Rimel Banna. As I mentioned, she was born in Nazareth. It is the hometown of Virgin Mary. And sadly, Reem died from breast cancer several years ago, and I don't think she was even 40 years old. I had the pleasure and honor of meeting her when I first visited Palestine on my first visit. And I tweeted a picture of the area, and she said, I am in town. And I met her. Allah yarhamha, as we say. May God bless her soul. As I told you, we are listening to an interview with Abdul Sayyid, and here is another one. It took place 2 weeks ago, and this is again CNN, Jake Tapper, and trying to ask someone who is American, born in America, running for American elections in an American state to join maybe the American Congress and Senate about a foreign country. So here is another one.
And so you had a huge rally last night with Bernie and AOC. I want to play something you said at this rally in Detroit last night.
Are we going to let 50 million in lies steal this election? Hell no. Are we going to let Trump donors, billionaires, and AIPAC lies steal this election?
Not sure what is happening here, but here is the interview with Abdul Sayyid.
All right, we're going to begin this hour with the man at the center of a huge debate among Democrats, Michigan Senate candidate Dr. Abdul El-Sayed, who is narrowly ahead in the race to be his party's nominee. CBS News says the race is still too close to call. El-Sayed is a progressive, and his win would be a very big deal for the party's left. Dr. Abdul El-Sayed joins us now from Detroit. Good morning, sir. Good to see you.
Good morning, Vlad.
So, as you know, this race is much closer than polling suggested. Have you at all heard from Congresswoman Stevens?
We haven't had a chance to talk. It's been
about 6 hours since NBC called it last night. We've got to bring the party together, and I know both she and I are committed to doing that. We've only got 13 weeks to beat a guy who has no business being in the U.S. Senate, and so I'm looking forward to that conversation. Grateful for the hard-fought race that we had, and the things that united us and the things that unify us are so much bigger than any of the things that divided us.
So let's talk about that unity. What do you think you need to do to sway Haley Stevens supporters over to your side?
Well, Vlad, I'll tell you this. We set out 13 months ago, 15 months ago now, to build a movement, to get money out of politics, put money in your pocket, pass Medicare for all. Mike Rogers is a guy who wants to put more money in politics. He is dead set on taking money out of your pockets by colluding with some of the worst folks and the worst corporations who've taken money out. And if he had his way, would have Medicare for none. So I think the things that bring us together are so much bigger. And the focus that we need to have to take on Mike Rogers and the Trumpism that he's chosen to represent are the things that are going to bring us together. There's a lot of healing to do after a hard-fought primary like this. But I have said that this is a big, open movement. We welcome anybody and everybody who understands that we need a government of the people, by the people, and for the people to it. And I'm looking forward to welcoming our new friends to this coalition to beat Mike Rogers in the fall.
All right, Doctor, let's talk about Haley Stevens and the fact that she was obviously pro-Israel. You've been very clear about pulling back the spending for countries like the state of Israel. But what would you say to some of her supporters who see Israel as a key ally of the United States and that they deserve our financial support? I know that you've gone on the record to say that you think that that money that we spend should be spent and invested here in the United States. But many people see that as a false choice. The federal budget is nearly $7 trillion. Many voters would say that the United States can invest at home while also supporting allies whose security interests advance America's own. How do you address that?
Well, Vlad, I'll tell you this. I'm coming to you from Detroit. I can go 5 minutes in almost any direction. I can show you a school that looks like it did 50 years ago. And when you talk about improving that school, everybody asks, well, how are you going to pay for that? I just don't know why we don't ask the same question when it comes to unconditional foreign military aid for any country. That's Israel, sure, but that's also Egypt, where my family immigrated from. That's also Pakistan and Saudi Arabia and Qatar, all countries that we send unconditional foreign military aid. And I don't know about you or the viewers, but I don't pay my taxes thinking, man, I can't wait for another country to get a bomb or a tank.
But what kind of message does that send, Doctor?
If they improve that school.
What kind of message does that send to our allies and our adversaries that the United States would not be willing to support a key ally in global strategy?
Well, I think it would send that we're about principle. If you're going to use the money that we send you to do apartheid and genocide, then you should think twice about getting our funding. And also think about the message that that sends to families who are in need in our own communities. It says that we see you. You have been contributing to our tax base for a very long time, and you haven't been getting the deal that you deserve. It says that we really are about trying to make your life more affordable, trying to make sure that you have the resources you need. And it says that we believe you have the right to your tax dollars. And so I think too often we're too worried about what something says to someone else. We're not as worried about what we say to people who are struggling for the ability to afford the basic things that they need for a dignified life. We are in an affordability crisis right now. It is high past time for us to prioritize spending on the things that make people whole, guaranteeing their health care, making sure that they have housing and good schools, making sure they can breathe clean air and drink clean water, standing up to the corporations and special interests who have corrupted our politics for far too long.
Dr.
If you're just joining us, this is True Talk on WMNF 88.5 FM, and you were just listening to a CBS interview with Abdul Sayed being kind of interrogated, and I'm very pleased to say that we're going to be talking now with Dr. Hatem Bazian, who is Executive Director of the Islamophobia Studies Center. I should say that he is one of the most influential scholars on Islamophobia, but in particular in the U.S. He's also a lecturer in the Middle Eastern languages, cultures, and Asian American studies at Berkeley at California. He writes a lot about what is going on, especially the idea that any American Muslim running for election will be subjugated to the kind of questioning that you were listening to. Thank you, Dr. Hatem, for joining True Talk. Always a pleasure to have you.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Okay, I have sent you a couple of links of these interviews. One was with Jake Tapper of CNN and another one with CBS. It seems that any Muslim who runs for an election, Professor Bazian, is subject to a different kind of questioning and doubt and labeling. Could you tell us, since this poor doctor decided to run for election, what kind of campaigns did he face?
Well, you are correct to say that a Muslim entering public life in the United States, and I would include also parts of Europe, Australia, New Zealand, the Western world in general, faces head-on the combination of, on the one hand, old-term Orientalism, and also the particular part of it is Islamophobic construct of Orientalism. And therefore, they are treated as an exception to the norm. The type of interrogation that takes place, the insinuation that is there, the label of terrorism is thrown in, the label of jihadist is thrown in, the doubt of their belonging is constantly in there. So literally Muslims are citizens by exception. Their citizenship is not equal, is doubted, and that the fact that there is this notion that they really are not expressing their honest, true public persona, they're hiding something, this whole notion of taqiyya that you see many of the Islamophobic groups, individuals are using, and therefore there must be something hiding. Now, interestingly enough, if anybody would have read the speeches, the framing, the discussions on the Jewish subject in early European history as well as early 20th century, and you replace the Jewish with Muslim in the Western world, it actually will mirror almost identically this notion of a conspiracy lurking around of the Muslim who is engaged in the society. So this is what we are seeing with Abdul Sayyid right now, similar to what Zahran Mamdani faced in New York. And also, if I want to take the listeners to possibly an earlier period, I would say if anybody followed the campaign of President Obama, the interesting part is that during his campaign in 2008, early on, Hillary Clinton, and then followed by the Republican, made emphasis to try to pronounce his middle name, Barack Hussein, and making lengthy reference to the middle name. And this was intentional. It's a head nod, an insinuation, an attempt to say that what you're dealing with is a Muslim, even though that Obama was not, and to indicate that he does not belong. He is, quote, not American, which in essence, in here, the attempt to try to say that he is not white, not Christian, and his name is a reflection of where his sympathies are located. So this is what we are seeing in relations to the campaign directed at Sayyid right now in Michigan.
Okay, you mentioned that if we replace the word Muslim with Jews and vice versa, they did it before, and I think they did it for the Japanese, and and they do it and still do it for every minority. Is it because these two parties are bankrupt? Is it because they can't offer a platform or change or a solution to housing and healthcare, or is it because they are racist?
Both are not mutually exclusive, but let me say, I just actually posted an article just last night after the Senate hearing that focused on Abdul Sayed's Michigan's victory, the Senate hearings, which was undertaken by Ted Cruz and the Islamophobic network, and said what a Senate hearing on the, quote, Muslim Brotherhood reveals about what who lost in Michigan and what they intend to do about it. So this is in my Substack. So you are correct to say that if you are a Republican at this time in the United States, the question is what record you're going to run on. Trump campaign in 2024 promised affordability, promised reducing the inflation from day one, promised that we're going to make America great again, we're going to bring jobs back to the country, we're not going to fight any wars, forever wars, and we're also on day one, we're going to release the Epstein files. Now, if you are a Republican now and you're looking, what are you going to be delivering to the public? Affordability is almost a shot idea. Prices have skyrocketed, both as a result of the tariffs that the President Trump is enthralled by, which is a form of taxation. So literally, it's taxing the American public by means of this tariff. And that's why the Supreme Court literally said that this was a form of taxation and that the president have no authority to do so. The right of taxation is actually an authority of Congress. So affordability is not there. The prices are high, skyrocketed. The tariffs have really impacted the society. We have loss of jobs in the industrial arena because, again, a combination of tariffs and other elements of the inflation. So that's also we lost industrial jobs. The president promised that we will not have another war. He was very critical of the Iraq war, rightly so. Now we're entangled with many wars. Venezuela, we see the war in Iran. There's an engagement relative to Yemen. We're deploying or at least have some engagement in Africa. So people were promised, at least talking about the Republican base, the mega, promised that there will not be another war, a critique of the neoconservatives, and now the fracture of the mega on that front. And then we get into the Epstein files and the fact that they promised to release him, and we still have the Justice Department have dragged its feet, that the files are still being covered up with materials that implicates the president, the bank accounts, and so on. So all of this is there that resulted in a loss. So if you don't have anything to run on, and I don't want to even add there the healthcare and the skyrocketing prices of prescription drugs, the fact that the big beautiful bill that was passed also removed people from food stamps as well as from Medicaid. So you don't have anything to run. So what do? You pick on something that you will be able to rally based on fear. So all your problems in America, all your problems in the Midwest, all your problems of losing jobs, it is the Muslim that is attempting to take over America with the creeping Sharia, with trying to say and designate organization as being infiltrating our government, and they are terrorists and so on. And then also you blame the immigrants, so you unleash ICE in there to unleash fear and threats across the country. So this is the strategy, and it builds into a very rich base of racism, right? Racism is always there, it's lurking, it's present in every corner. And what we are seeing is the unleashing of Islamophobia on the one hand, anti-immigrant racism and sentiment toward the Latinos. And this is what the Republicans have decided to run in this midterm election, knowing that they cannot run on their record. So if you can't run on your record, you run away from your record and you pick an issue that you actually have, ready-made, almost boilerplates to it, and you battle the threat of the Muslims in this country, which also by important linkages, it helps also those who are pro-Israel, the Netanyahu, the AIPAC, the groups that are trying to defend Israel in the time of genocide, because their research also said that Islamophobia, anti-Muslim sentiments, and so on would result in shifting public opinion 20 percentage point in support of Israel. So these are the linkages that you're seeing between, on the one hand, AIPAC's dropping, almost, I think, 30 plus million. The total, the total campaign against Sayed, actually, Stevens had close to 64 million in her campaign. People account for close to 35 million of that coming directly from AIPAC, but also you could think of all the other pieces. So why would AIPAC drop this amount of money as to defend Netanyahu at a time of genocide, in the same way that they dropped similar, close to 35 million in defeating Congressman Massey in Kentucky. So those are the linkages between, on the one hand, the Republicans who are attempting to run on a fear agenda, and the pro-Israel AIPAC that is also trying to run to defend and re-establish Israel's position within the United States by spending the money to defeat individuals that are not really declaring their allegiance to protect Israel and supply Israel without any limits whatsoever. So instead of pledging allegiance to protect and defend the United States and provides support for the citizens of your own district, you have to pledge allegiance to Netanyahu and his right-wing government. So that's the linkages that we have to make.
What about the Democratic Party? Because I remember also seeing 2 days ago reporters asking Schumer about the elections in Michigan. He wouldn't even mention the name or utter his name, and he would give very vague answers that it is very important for the Democrats to win. It's very important for the Democrats to win. So what is the problem of the Democratic Party?
Well, the Democratic Party, again, I'm not absolving it of using and peddling Islamophobia. If you remember, I said that in the initial elections of Obama, the first to actually release the insinuation against Obama that he is a closet Muslim was Hillary Clinton campaign by leaking or at least sending out the picture of Obama when he visited Kenya dressed in a Somali tribal outfit that one of the elders have put this outfit on him. So that was actually used to insinuate that Obama is a closet Muslim. So the Democratic Party, especially the Democratic machine, is committed to Islamophobia, because also in here the linkage between Islamophobia and support of Israel goes almost hand in hand. And Stevens herself, Haley Stevens in Michigan, likewise peddled in Islamophobia, peddled in trying to make linkages between al-Sayed's position on Israel and to try to insinuate that Muslims are inherently anti-Jewish, and trying to push this in her campaign as well. So we see the Democratic Party still beholden to Islamophobic discourses. And I would go back to also to the Kamala Harris campaign, made sure to distance itself from Muslim Arab Palestinians during her campaign in 2024. And at least all indications that that was one of the main point, not the only point, one of the main point that actually caused her to lose Michigan and other places. In one of the surveys, 29 percent of those who did not go out to vote or opted not to engage. 29% said Gaza was very important issue for them. And the Harris campaign, which was listening both to professional consultants, but also to those who are directly connected to the AIPAC, to those who have a strong hold on the Democratic Party mainstream machine. In essence, they ran away from the Arab Muslim Palestinian communities, and this continues to be so. So Schumer himself, I think I remember there's a speech that he gave. He said his primary responsibility or his primary task in the Democratic Party is to keep the Democratic Party pro-Israel. So here is the Senate. Before that, he was Senate majority. Now he is the leader of the Senate Democratic minority. Rather than say his primary responsibility is to actually get the Democratic Party to link up to the base, to represent the larger swath of population, to win back the Democratic base that have soured on the Democratic Party being connected to corporate elite, to big money, to really listening and welcoming Netanyahu and his government, and continuously voting for more and more financial, military, and diplomatic support for Israel, rather than actually linking with the base that, at least in the last data, almost 77% of the Democratic base is actually does not support Israel. And they want to have end all military aid to Israel. So instead of reflecting this, he is actually peddling in Islamophobic discourses by not even pronouncing or saying the name of the candidate. I don't know today, maybe I saw earlier that he already endorsed Sayed. I'm not sure, but I saw some reference to that possibility, and I wouldn't be surprised he would do the endorsement, but it's an endorsement that is despite his opposition, despite lining up behind Stevens, and literally reflecting AIPAC priority, that he is forced by the vote, by the grassroots that have turned out in large number. The numbers for a primary in the Democratic hit almost all-time records with the time of turnout, which means that the base is energized, and what it wants to see from its leadership is to really completely shift and begin to fight for the core issues that the Democratic grassroots, the rank and file, are wanting. They do want enough affordability to be addressed. They do want their health care, that you don't need to go to become bankrupt if you got sick. They want that addressed. They want to have affordable housing. They want to actually have healthy food. They don't want their data centers to be in their backyards that are being pushed by the corporate tech AI elite. And for sure, they don't want their taxes to be sent to a state that is engaged in genocide and continue to reward Netanyahu and his regime. These are the core issues that the Democratic base wants. And unfortunately, at the leadership level in Washington and other places, they're still...
they're mute. Because like you said, Professor Hatem, every poll done in the past 3 years shows that more and more young people and even people in their 40s and 50s are not supportive of Israel or genocide. And they actually use the word genocide to describe what is going on. But absolutely. What is the significance of Abdul Sayed winning the Democratic Senate primary in Michigan? What is it that they are afraid of? And what's the significance of it? Especially that I think I looked at Ali Harb, he's a journalist based in Washington, and he said maybe 35% of American Arabs voted for him. So the rest of whoever voted for Abdul Rahman are just Americans who have no relationship whatsoever to the Arab world or to Islam. And at the same time, you have a president who used a 4-letter word to describe a candidate who did not violate any law. He's born in the USA. His mom actually is American, born in the USA. She's white American, has nothing to do with the Middle East. And he went through the democratic process that we are so proud of, that the US is a republic and a democracy. So what is it that they are afraid of, especially that Vance, I think yesterday he said, God forbid he becomes president.
Yeah, well, the thing is, what they're afraid of is a bigger question. All right, the bigger question is that we have the best political system that money can buy. Right. So the more money you have, the more access, the more tax breaks you get, the more corporate welfare you have access. So literally, what they're afraid of is an American public that wants to assert its rights to be governed by a government and by a political representative that are looking out for their interest. We have two political parties in terms of the establishment of both the Republican and the Democrats that are committed to supporting and continue to give all types of leeway to the corporate elite, to the financial elite, to the tech elite, to the those who are at the top, even less than 1%. So I say that America is a poverty-stricken country that is inhabited by billionaires. Mm-hmm. That you have billionaires that are living in a country that is poverty-stricken. I think Abdul Sayed yesterday said that the average income in Michigan is $14,000.
My God.
Right?
Annual?
This is actually less than the average income in Israel. And yet, an Israeli who is receiving U.S. support have a free health care, free education, discounted housing, and a total protection from the U.S. So I would actually ask the Democratic Party and the Republican Party to possibly treat the Michigan citizens as they treat the Israelis. Give them free health care, free education, and access to housing. At least if you are going to talk about what they are, the threat, and how we need to pledge allegiance to Netanyahu and to support him and protect him from actually facing the International Criminal Court for genocide. So the fear is that democracy will bring individuals who are not beholden to the 1%, to the billionaire. I think Bernie Sanders speaks of the oligarchs. And we have the tech oligarchs that are connected to financial oligarchs that are running the institutions. And Americans who work hard from can't see almost in the morning till can't see at night because of the commute and so on, are ending every month not being able to actually see their head above water, while millions and billions, if not trillions, are shifted and moved from one group to the other at the top echelon of the political order. So that's what is at stake in here. And therefore, peddling in racism, Islamophobia, and fear makes it possible, and this is actually part of the strategy, instead of people coming together to try to have a say in their own government, whether at the local or national level, you actually stoke tensions between people. So you get the white working class to confront and be in confrontation with the black working class. You have the Latino working class being in confrontation with the Asian, black, and white working class. So literally, you get almost a social gladiator arena where the gladiators who are almost all out of similar background, they have to fight till the end to almost eliminate each other, just for one of them to emerge to be appreciated by, if I say, the emperor that is sitting in there appreciating with his 1% that can afford a ticket to sit in the Colosseum to watch the gladiator fight that is taking place in the arena. So literally what we have is a political process that is structured around stoking people against one another. So those who are the billionaires and the corporate elites and so on can laugh all the way to the bank and back, because they're going to get back and take our tax money, right? People think of Elon Musk as a genius. I would say he is one of the biggest beneficiary of corporate welfare system that we have. Every time that, up to last cycle, every time he sold a Tesla, a tax break of $7,500, that's why it's signed up to his company by anybody who's purchasing. Similarly, his SpaceX is literally suckling at government contracts and getting massive amounts of billions for his companies. So rather than saying, yes, I am benefiting from the government and suckling at the taxpayer pipeline, he goes out and blames the poor for receiving food stamps and WIC in order just to sustain themselves and eat just a meal in this country. So this is the strategy, and the absurdity is keeping people fighting one another rather than actually but actually considering the possibility of an alliances and solidarities that will transform politics. So the fear is that we would actually lead and get a different type of coalition that put priority on taking care really of families, taking care really of kids, not the Epstein kids, taking care of building our schools, taking care of building of our hospitals and healthcare, taking care of actually protecting the well-being of the society and our landscape, rather than thinking of a trickle-down economics. If the billionaires are doing well, then everybody must doing well. The fact is that we have over 50 years of trickle-down economics, and the trickle-down economics actually trickled down to poverty structurally in our society. Is the more that we gave the rich, the more that they actually disrupted and corrupted the system to have more wealth coming on their way, and they stashed their wealth in offshore accounts and also outsourced our jobs completely offshore and overseas. So as you critique the rise of China and other places, ask yourself the fundamental question: who took your job out of the country? Who outsourced your car manufacturing job? Who actually removed and took all of your industrial base and send it first to Mexico in the maquiladoras on the border, then to other places, and then also to China? Was it Abdul Sayed in Michigan?
I don't think so.
Was it the Muslims who are praying in different places? Was it the white worker who was working in the Ford factory that made the decision to take the job? Was it anyone that you actually look across the assembly line? Is it that person, or is it the corporate elite who destroyed Sears, which was one of the pride of this country as a what you call a major store with close to 4,000 plus stores? Who destroyed it? Again, these corporate raiders that took the store and dismantled it one piece at a time, and hundreds of thousands lost their jobs, and now you no longer have a Sears. Was it the worker on Sears that was welcoming the customer, or was it those on the boardrooms? Right? So again, the fear is what we begin to ask fundamental questions about what actually destroyed the social fabric, the economy, the industrial base, the educational system, the healthcare system. And it's much easier to blame a Muslim and to think that there was a conspiracy of a Muslim who's possibly is going to have a mosque and pray. Or is it much easier to do this by unleashing Islamophobia or racism in order not to answer and ask the critical questions at this particular time?
We are talking to Dr. Hatem Bazian, who is Executive Director of Islamophobia Studies Center. He's also a lecturer in Middle Eastern languages and cultures and Asian American studies at Berkeley, California. What what kind, and I just want to make our listeners know that I am not endorsing Abdul Sayed, I am not endorsing Haley Stevens, and I'm not endorsing, I think he will be running against Mike Rogers from the Republican Party. We are discussing the level of Islamophobia and hate, and to the level where the president yesterday uses four-letter word to say to mention a fellow American running for election. This is only the primary. So what happens in November? What kind of money are they going to inject? What kind of hatred are we going to see? What do you expect? What should we be ready for? And how can the poor guy and his family, because they go after his wife, they went after his father-in-law. Like, if his father-in-law, before he was his father-in-law, ate ice cream at God knows where, it is a scandal. So what should we expect that could happen to Abdul Sayed and other Muslims who might be running?
Well, I would direct people to the article that I put out yesterday on my Substack. And I began the article by talking about the Obama campaign. Mm-hmm. And I do think that they're going to throw everything conceivable on Abdul Sayed to fan the flame of Islamophobia.
Can
you remember?
Can I interrupt you? And I want you to tell our listeners who are not following your Substack what happened during Obama, because we here at WMNF talked about it. But can you just mention what is it?
Well, in 2008, the campaign insinuated that Obama is a Muslim. In the critical juncture, a documentary called Obsession, Radical Islam War Against the West. Somebody dropped, which is the predominantly came from the pro-Israel cluster, dropped 28 million copies of a DVD that was inserted into newspapers at a cost of $17 million. Directed at swing states to try to influence and have a fear of Obama as a closet Muslim. Followed that, they actually had another documentary called Third Jihad, which the opening or the promo for it had Obama's eyes covered up with Arabic text, in a sense to insinuate that the Muslims have taken over the country, and this is the conspiracy. That gives us rise to the birther movement, that also with it, or at least before it, the Tea Party, that were all built around this conspiracy, where we get the notion that we need to take our country back. So the mega articulation that begins to give a rise to Trump, who was one of those individuals that pushed the birther movement, ended up actually riding all the way this to the 2016 election. He also, the first act was to institute the Muslim ban, ran again on a similar tab in 2020, and then to 2024, we see the type of articulation. So they will throw almost every conceivable conspiracy, every conceivable lie, every conceivable insinuation in order to derail Sayed's campaign, in order, one, to increase the Republican base coming out to support Rogers, to make the independent fear Sayed by making all this insinuation and creating what you call complete aversion, and to shave some percentage point from the Democrats in such a way that also Democrats within the what we call mainstream, or those who are identified with basic political landscape Democrat, will actually run away from Sayed. So this is the strategy, and they're going to dump millions. I will expect Elon Musk to dump millions. I would expect Palantir will dump millions. I'll expect some of the big corporate, including ChatGPT CEOs, to dump millions into it. So we're going to see maybe one of the most expensive political campaigns to be unleashed using Islamophobic content in order to secure the Senate seat for the Republicans. Now, the Republicans are fearful, or at least Trump and the Republicans, that they might lose the Senate. I know that they already have conceded they're going to lose the House. But if they can maintain hold on the Senate, Michigan becomes the critical piece. So they're going to throw the sink on Sayed and use all types of Islamophobic tools, racist tools, in order to generate the type of victory that they would like to have in Michigan. So that's what we're going to face. So for Sayed and the Democrats who really want to fight and oppose this current Trump agenda, the current ICE agenda, the current agenda that is there, we have to organize, or they have to organize, one of the best grassroots outreach campaign that the country have actually seen. Not because you love a Sayed, which you might have love for it, but to understand the political landscape that we are working with. They're using, again, if you watch the movie Monsters, Inc., they're trying to use Muslim Inc., fear of Muslims, as a way to get us all to line up behind literally a bankrupted agenda, an agenda that does not serve the everyday person, does not serve the working American, white, black, Latino, and so on. That is a politics that is directed at rewarding the corporate elite, the AI elite, the financial elite, and not actually situated to benefit everyday American. So we're going to have to actually fight for a different type of politics, and that's what Sayed and other political campaigns around the country. So I expect the sink to be thrown at Sayed, and it's going to be one of those critical campaigns that is generational, because it can point to a different possibility.
So let's say he wins and he enters the Senate.
It's a one vote. Again, I don't expect, people think that if he entered the Senate, all of a sudden the world is going to change. No, it's not. It's one vote among 100 votes, right? There's 100 Senate seats. He will be one out of the 100. He will be able to introduce what you call bills. He will be able to strike possibly deals and so on in order to act. But I think it's the symbolism, political nod to what the possibilities are, and therefore it is really creating a possibility or a future horizon of trying to change the political order. So the 2026 midterm elections can also set the stage for a different political priorities in 2028. So I don't want people to think that if Sayed's win, all of a sudden we're going to be in a different political configuration. It will take more time, and also takes more collective effort in different parts of the country, different political configuration, but it does bring at least a discourse of hope that big money was unable to defeat a grassroots campaign, that it'll take all of us to come out to try to defeat those who have the money to purchase votes and purchase seats. So if anything, it's the masses campaign. AIPAC was able to purchase a seat. The corporate elite was able to purchase and defeat masses. But I think Sayed, if he's able to win that, we could point that a moment where big money did not decide the outcome. And I think this is the unique element which gives people the idea and the possibility of actually it could be done. And that's where the threat of others who might replicate the same strategy, which was also the same strategy that Mamdani in New York succeeded. Lastly, I would say that even in Michigan, a high segment of the Jewish population that were stoked into Islamophobia actually voted for Sayed. In a similar way, in terms of Mamdani, 34% of the Jewish population in New York voted for Mamdani. So even the stoking of Islamophobia on the question of Muslims as it relates to Jewish communities actually is no longer carrying the day, because you're looking at Netanyahu on the one hand and Muslim-Jewish relations outside of Israel, you actually see there is a possibility of hope and a different political configuration emerging.
I want to thank you, Dr. Hatem Bazian. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Maybe we will talk in November and see what the results are. Thank you so much. I was talking to Dr. Hatem Bazian, who is Executive Director of Islamophobia Studies Center. He's a lecturer at Berkeley, California. Let me read one email I got from Sarasota from Betty. She says, hello, I appreciate your show all these years. Israel's genocide is finally sinking into the minds of Jews around the world, but many still deny and reflect, blaming militant groups without understanding the expression of Israel's of rage. No one accepts October 7, but the ongoing catastrophe needs to be stopped. Netanyahu and his criminal settlers government need to be overthrown and replaced. Thank you, Betty. Appreciate it. Alhamdulillah, there are people who are paying attention to what is going on. This is WMNF Tampa. Thank you for supporting True Talk. The Scoop is next.
This is The Scoop for Thursday.
I'm Lisa Marzilli with the